Well, today's episode is going to be a very exciting one. As you know, there's the collaboration between three of the top Japanese promotions in all the world. We're talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, and of course, Pro Wrestling Noah, where they come together with a show they have done back in 2011 called All Together Again, which they haven't done for a while, but we're going to see how this is going to play out. And of course, we got AEW Rampage with a lot of good matches taking place. And of course, we're going to see who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up. And we got a couple of news updates to share what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. As you know, there's a brand new promotion that's going to be for all women's only. They're coming out in LA real soon. And we got other things we're going to be talking about, which shows are going to be put up from what promotion, who's being booked, and whatnot. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So let's begin with this show was collaborated with New Japan, All Japan, and Noah all together again. Now this show hasn't been done for almost 12 years or so. The last one they did was back in 2011, and the top stars of that time was none other than the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, representing Pro Wrestling Noah, Suwama representing All Japan Pro Wrestling, and of course Go Shiozaki representing uh, Pro Wrestling Noah. So it's interesting that this is happening now. Now they did had a kickoff show a match they have. We have members representing from the Noah team. We have Alejandro, Seki Yoshiaki, Super Crazy, and Atsushi Kotoge. They take on a very combination of both New Japan and All Japan talent. For the All Japan talent, we have, of course, Blackman Suri and Ryu Inouye. Representing New Japan, we have Yo and Rosuke Taguchi. Now, this was a very interesting matchup. However, you probably think, why is there more members from the Noah team than we have half and half with the other team? Well, that is interesting, but it played out pretty well in this match. But however, in this case, it was Yo with the direct drive on Kotoge that kind of ended right there. I kind of knew that this was going to go between Kotoge and Yo from the very beginning because they are two of the top, one of the most impressive juniors in their respective companies. So yeah, so the win goes to Black Mansuri, Aone, Inouye, and of course Yo and Taguchi. Now they did bring out the three aces of that time from the first original show from 2011: Suwama, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Go Shiozaki. They even brought in a performance of the artist who did the theme song for this particular show, named Funkist, I think. But it was a pretty good catchy tune, just to let everybody know. Now, the start of the show, we have um, representing from Pro Wrestling Noah, Yoshiki Inamari, Daiki Inaba, and Masa Kiramiya taking on the members of Chaos, Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Goto. Now, this is a very impressive match. Now, I know that at some point in this match, I was going to watch Ishii get in the face of Inamari, but I would have assumed he would have gotten in the face of Kitamiya, but it didn't go exactly like that. But it was a very impressive match. But it was the Shoto by Bushimon that sealed the deal onto Inaba, giving them the win. So Chaos walked away with the win. Our next match, we have a very interesting representing Pro Wrestling No. We have Sean Legacy and Chris Ridgway taking on TMDK, Kosa Fujita, and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, very interesting stories how they were building up, saying that Chris Ridgway and Zack Sabre Jr. Have confronted each other in the past. However, it's very interesting that these guys are almost similar. Now, Ridgway and Zack Sabre Jr., they're both technical wrestlers. But in this case, I viewed Ridgway like he's the most aggressive technical wrestler amongst he and Zack Sabre Jr. But he was the one who was able to put Kosa Fujita in an ankle lock, and he had, of course, Zack tried to encourage Fujita not to tap out, but he had no other choice due to the pain was too much. But Zack Sabre Jr. reminded Ridgway who is the real, who really has the real title right now. As you know, Zack Sabre Jr. is the current IWGP World Television Champion. That's what he meant. Next up, we got Yoshitatsu taking on Shota Umino. Now, I wasn't too sure about this match a lot because it was a little different. You know, Yoshitatsu representing All Japan and Shota Umino for New Japan. Because this match lasted like almost 5 minutes in its capacity, but um, I don't know. I wasn't just too feeling for it, but it was Shota with the Death Rider onto Yoshitatsu that picked up the win. Next up, we have a very interesting tag match. We have Axis, consistent of Katsuhiko Nakajima and Go Shiozaki, taking on Hokuto Omori and Satoshi Kojima. I thought this match was very interesting because, from what I'm hearing, that Nakajima and Shiozaki, they were part of a tag team called Axis in the past, but now that they're reunited, it kind of blows everybody away. But what I did like is how Axis are more of the one tag team in pro wrestling Noah that people need to be watching out or be feared about. But it was in this case a vertical spike onto on Mori that put away thanks to um, Shiozaki, by Nakajima. Nakajima, on the other hand, he's a straight up guy who would definitely try to put you away no matter what. But it was a pretty good match. I think I like it. Next up, we have Junta Miyawaki, uh, Takashi Segura, and Naomichi Marufuji representing Pro Wrestling Noah. They take on the members of Strong Style, consistent of Despy, Narita, and Suzuki. But one thing that I knew it was going to go, where there was a moment where, of course, Segura and Suzuki were once again, like last time with the um, Wrestle Kingdom from last year, those two getting in each other's faces. I knew this was going to happen again. But it was Despy with the Pinche Loco onto what was it? Miyawaki to um, put him away, and 1, 2, 3 is over. Strong Style, once again, one of the strongest individuals. Now, our next match, we have Dan Tamra, Hikaru Sato, both of them represent Evolution. We have Ryu Honda, and of course, we have the Saito brothers representing Voodoo Murders. All of them are from Pro Wrestling Noah. They faces the entirety, the 5 members of the United Empire. We're talking about Catch 22, Francisco Kera, TJP. Then we have Jeff Cobb, Henare, and of course Great Khan. But what's interesting is that now this is drawing back memories for Akira. As you know, Akira prior before going to New Japan, he was starting out in All Japan. I think he was their junior heavyweight champion at one time over there. But I think he wanted everybody to show how much he has developed, which of course he did. Now the Saito brothers are a group of guys; they ought to be staying out of each other. But however, it was of course Akira with the fireball on Tamura that picked up the win. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of that United Empire will evade All Japan to show the superiority, but I know for a fact that the All Japan talent will not allow these guys to make a mockery out of them. So that's how it goes. Now, our next match, we have Yuma Azai, Suwama, and of course, Yuji Nagata taking on the members of Ally J, consisted of Bushi, Shingo Takagi, and Tetsuya Naito. But coming along by their side as their second is none other than their newest member, Yota Tsuji. Now, what's interesting about this match, Yuma Anzai is going to set the challenge Yuji Nagata for the Triple Crown Championship, which was very interesting. But however, they were able to get along to try to handle Lij. But in this case, it was of course Suwama with a big power bomb onto Bushi that picked up the win. Next up, we have Good Looking Guys, or GLG, consistent of Tadasuke, Yohei, and Jake Lee, taking on just five guys, consistent of Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Taka Michinoku, and of course SANADA. This is a very interesting matchup because if you guys know, Jake Lee is the current GHC heavyweight champion in Pro Wrestling Noah. As for SANADA, the current IWGP or World Heavyweight Champion representing Pro Wrestling Noah. New Japan Pro Wrestling, my bad. But it was a pretty good match. However, in this case, it was a big boot by Jake Lee onto Taka Michinoku that allowed them to win. Now, our next match, we have a bit of the junior heavyweight competitors representing from three different promotions. Rising Hayato representing All Japan, Master Wato representing New Japan, of course, and the current GHC junior heavyweight champion Hayata representing Noah. On the opposite side, we have Asuka representing Pro Wrestling Noah, former GHC junior heavyweight champion. Then we got Atsuki Aoyagi representing, of course, All Japan, and then finally Hiromu Takahashi representing Noah. I thought this match was pretty good. One thing I was like a little confused. Okay, why is Hayata on that side instead of being with the champions? Because you got Aoyagi, who's the current junior heavyweight champion, and of course Hiromu's the current champion. It would have been greater to see that, but it wasn't. But it was a pretty good match. Not to mention, I did enjoy it. But in this case, it was the 450 splash by Aoyagi who picked up the win onto Rising Hayato, giving them the win. Now our main event, similar with the junior heavyweight, we have the heavyweights. We have Kento Miyahara teaming with Miyahara represents All Japan. Then of course representing Noah, we have Kato Kiyomiya, and then of course the ace of New Japan, Hiroshi Tanahashi. They take on Yuma Aoyagi, who is from All Japan Pro Wrestling, Keno from Noah, and then finally Kazuchika Okada from New Japan. Now, however, certain factors on this particular match was going to take place. Since Kiyomiya had issues with Okada in the past, he has to hold his composure because he really wants to have another opportunity with him at some point. But we don't know when will that happen. Some people say it could happen in at the G1. But it was a pretty good match, of course. Once again, Okada once again has to deal with Kiyomiya in every way possible. But however, that didn't stop him. But in this case, it was the Rainmaker onto Tanahashi to pick up the win. So I have to say, it was a pretty good match. So I liked it. So I think that's pretty much it for this particular show. I believe it's time for AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage. Now, it started out with the Lucha Brothers, Penta and Rey Fenix, teaming up with Bandito to take on what was formerly the Firm, Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, and Ethan Page. Now, this was a match he signed on before the Firm were deleted by Matt Hardy, Jeff, and of course Hook. But nevertheless, this was a very interesting matchup. However, probably you'd say there's a lot of goofy parts of this match because Matt Hardy, along with his brother and Isaiah Cassidy, showed up, kind of like not interfered, but like going, "What the hell?" That sort of thing. But it was Bandito with the 21 salute that put away Ethan Page to give them the victory. So you'd probably be like, "Oh boy, this is gonna be a lot of fun." Now, once again, QTV trying to figure out what to do for their upcoming things. So we just got to wait and see what's going to happen. But I do know recently in AAA, Penta's been getting a lot of mysterious pictures of his family, and it turned out to be QT. So I don't know why they haven't put that on the QT TV, but they're keeping that separate. Now, Powerhouse Hub ended up in the match. facing, well, you can call it a squash match because it was a spine buster on this guy named Caleb Crush, just like that. So the obvious question does tell with Hobbs, where do we go from here? Will he make a play for, of course, the AEW World Title? I think many people may think that way, which we just don't know exactly if that's what they're going to go for. Now we do get a little interesting interview with Renee with Arn Anderson and Wardlow. Now, as you know, Arn Anderson is not happy with what Christian Cage did, sending his lizard to attack his son Brock Anderson after what happened, blaming him to do that. Now, but Wardlow reminded Arn Anderson about what he went through. If you remember, Samoa Joe went farther by cutting his hair because he tried to stay close to his dad. But however, he knows that you crossed the line by attacking this man's son. There's no forgiveness. So he will focus on them when the opportunity arises. But however, he right now has a focus on Jake Hager, who wants a shot of the TBS title. So that's something the TNT title. So we'll see what happens till then. Now, our next match, we have the Spanish Announce Project, or ASAP, Luther, Serpentico, and Angelico taking on the Acclaim, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, along with Daddy Ass Billy Gunn. I thought this match was pretty good. It did show a little bit of what we definitely could see, because I think many fans would love to see the Acclaim and Daddy Ass to have another opportunity of the trios belts. But it's no telling when will that happen. I'm sure they need more wins in order to make a very harder a good argument. But in case, it was a mic drop by Caster onto Luther to pick up the win. Now, during this time, at the start of at the top of the stage, Renee Paquette interviews the Dickwads. We're talking about Jeff Jarrett, his wife Karen, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and of course Satnam Singh. Now, because of this whole thing that's been going on with Aubrey Aubrey and Mark Briscoe show up, so they're trying to get in each other's faces. However, Briscoe said he had a little conversation with Tony Khan. Apparently, they cannot sanction Aubrey Edwards to have a match against Karen. However, Briscoe did mention that, of course, that they can sanction a mixed tag team match. But he, how do I say, reaffirmed that this one is not just any regular mixed tag team match. It's going to be a 3-on-3. But Sanjay Dutt, trying to play the smart ass that he thinks he is, saying it's going to be, of course, Lethal, Jarrett, and Karen. And he only sees two of them. But however, Mark Briscoe told him that he found the third man, even though ahead of time, because he reminded them there was only one person that told them not to trust them to the very beginning. And who better not to be their partner than their daddy, who is a tough SOB. So you can tell by the look on the faces from Sanjay and Jarrett and everybody else, except for Karen, who doesn't know anything. You don't want to mess with Papa Bear. That's the last thing you want. Now, our main event is a number one contendership for the AEW World Women's Championship. We have Sky Blue. We have Nyla Rose, Mercedes Martinez, and of course Britt Baker. Now, three out of the four women, that includes Nyla and Britt Baker, were former AEW Women's World Champion. As for Mercedes, she was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. So that leads Sky Blue as the oddball in the mix, who hasn't won a singles match. So I think many fans probably thought in their minds that Britt Baker would definitely get another opportunity for the AEW Women's title. But however, it would have been back and forth when it comes to it. But however, since Nyla Rose was there, now of course Marina Shafir was going to get involved. Britt Baker has someone by her side, which is Hikaru Shida. Well, Shida took care of Marina Shafir and chased her out of the ring. But however, in this case, it was Sky Blue with the code blue onto Nyla Rose to pick up the win and become our brand new number one contender. But of course, throughout the entirety of the match, our current women's champion, Toni Storm, was watching, and of course, she sprayed at the TV monitor the L, which means loser. So we'll see what happens then. So many fans are probably going to be speculating a lot of things, but there is still like talk: we're ready to see Sky Blue become champion? Well, that's still the obvious question that we're definitely going to see. So we'll wait till we get to there. We'll cross that bridge. So I think that's pretty much it for AEW. Let's move on with NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest NXT Level Up? Let's find out. Our opening match, we have Nathan Frazier taking on Tavon Heights. Now, keep in mind, Nathan Frazier does have that match for the NXT Heritage Cup against Noam Dar. But however, he cannot overlook who's right in front of him right now, which is Heights. But one thing that's interesting is this match is, of course, Frazier is a high flyer. As for Tavon, he has a collegiate wrestling background, which kind of would fit in his favor. But however, will that keep Nathan Frazier down? Well, it did not, because apparently it was Frazier who put away Tavon Heights with the 450 splash, giving him the win. So now he has to focus on his attention with the NXT Heritage Cup, taking on Noam Dar. Now, we do get a little interview with Luca Crucifisso, who talks about his opponent, which is Miles Bourne, saying some negative comments about him because, he has a wonderful story. As you know, Miles Bourne, he's deaf, but however, he's not impressed by him. He thinks that he doesn't impress him. But however, we did get that match next after this interview. Now, you probably think that Miles Bourne would try to overcome everything that Crucifino would do, anything to prove a point that he doesn't impress them. But however, Miles Bourne always been impressive since day one when we've been seeing him on NXT Level Up. But however, it was of course it was a hammerlock takedown by Crucifino that put away Miles Bourne, and it was three completely. Even Miles couldn't believe it that it ended like that, and of course, Crucifino was happy that he made his point, but one way or the other, Miles Bourne will definitely go back and get his little payback against him down the line. Now, our main event, we have Dante Chen taking on Charlie Dempsey. Now, this was a very difficult match for Dante due to the fact that Charlie is a crazy SOB, but not to mention a crazy submission specialist with unorthodox ways to put you there. And I think that's kind of will throw off someone like Dante Chen. But I mean, we've seen how Charlie Dempsey is when it comes to putting his opponents in the submission. But it took, I don't know if it's like a Mudo lock type that he put onto him, which forced them to tap out. So I don't know what to call it, but that's exactly what happened. Dante Chen tapped out, while Charlie Dempsey, of course, reigned supreme. So I believe that's pretty much it with NXT Level Up. So let's move on to our final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to a news updates. Now, let's get started what we have. Now, as you know, we're in the month of June. We're not that far off from the Forbidden Door, between the collaboration between New Japan and AEW. Now, a lot of fans have often talked about, will we ever see Stardom have an opportunity? Now, there's been word saying there's been a conversation about the possibility of having a talent to appear at Forbidden Door. But however, the opponent for this Stardom talent was mentioned, and that is none other than Toni Storm. So the obvious question is, who will be most likely to appear to take on Toni Storm? Now, many people are saying it could be Julia. Others are saying Micah. Others are saying possibly Kyrie. Others are saying Sudi. I mean, I don't. It could be anybody, but we just don't know because right as you know or now, Stardom has a show on that particular day. Those are trying to figure out who will participate in what show in that particular time. So we will see about that until that day comes. So we'll see. Now, as you know, recently there's been a new promotion that started up called the Spark Yoshi Puroresu Wrestling. However, there's a new promotion that was announced recently that's going to be starting in October called Kitsune Women's Wrestling. And their show begins in October on the 22nd of this month. Their tickets go on sale on the 16th of this month. The show starts on October 22nd, but their ticket sales begins on the 16th, which ironically is the same day of the Spark show in LA as well. They already announced for three names to appear. The first one is Ak Yasukawa. You may know her as the original leader of Oedo Tai. She will be there. But they announced for other names, Miyako Matsumoto, and of course Rachel Ellering. So you definitely want to check this out. You may try to look it up. A local podcaster named the Yoshipod are helping promoting this show. So you should check it out if you guys have Twitter. Now, recently, SANADA has talked about something very interesting. He said he has something in mind for the Forbidden Door. Now, we don't know what he's talking about, but he did state it. Pay attention for this coming AEW Dynamite. I'm kind of curious to see. I'm sure many fans are probably hoping who's going to be his opponent. We'll find out. Now, for all you Yoshi wrestlers out there, you may have heard the sad news that Yuka Sakazaki got injured with a neck injury, and apparently she and Mizuki have to relinquish the tag titles. So because of that, that kind of let it out. But they will be relinquishing the titles together, being in front of everybody at the upcoming Tokyo Pro Wrestling event. So it's kind of sad. Now, Impact Wrestling has announced for the Multiverse United 2. They announced Hiroshi Tanahashi will be making his place. Now, for the upcoming event by GCW Ride or Die, that will take place on the 28th of June, they announced Rina Yamashita will be teaming with Los Macizos, Ciclopse, and Medio Extremo to take on Second Gear Crew, which is Manser and, of course, Matthew Justice. They team up with John Wayne Murdoch. So that's going to be one killer match right there. So I think that's what we have for our news updates for now. I believe it's time to call it a day. Okay, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have Impact Wrestling against All Odds, and of course, we have Choco Pro 3/14th taking place. And of course, we just began the latest tour for New Japan Pro Wrestling, the new road. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. If there's anything else, I'll be putting that on the news updates. Also, I'll be working on the next Unagi Sayaka Watch update for everyone. And I still owe the video of me going to AEW show when they came here to my town of San Diego. I'll be doing that soon enough. So just stand by for everything else that I just announced. But for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.